Pawel, welcome to AI for Lifelong Learners.
Hi.
You're in Poland, is that right?
Yes, I am in Poland in the Silesian area.
Right. Okay, good. Well, thanks for being on. I know that's a big time difference. And thank you, listeners, for being here. I hadn't done a podcast in a little while, but this is one I felt was really going to be very, very important. I've been building a personal AI system for about 6 months for my particular needs. And it started as a writing tool and it turned into something I interact with every day. And I'm using Claude Code for that. And somewhere along the line, I realized I was designing a relationship, not just software. I don't mean personal relationship, but software that knew more what I wanted. And it has a personality file in it and memory and a daily routine. But the choices I made about what it does and doesn't do turned out to be a kind of self-portrait in retrospect here. And then recently on Substack, I found Pawel Jozefiak subs on his Substack. Now that's we're gonna. This is just an amazing interaction that we've had in that we were sort of following a similar path but different reasons. Um, he's an e-commerce manager in Poland. He built the same kind of thing independently for completely different reasons with regards to e-commerce. And his agent runs night shifts, builds itself a website, or has built itself a website, tried to actually buy him a birthday present, which I think is pretty cool. And but we didn't really know each other existed. We just happened to cross paths. And turns out we've arrived at the same strange place. The thing we built knows us so well that it often comes up with surprises. And his agent named a loneliness that he'd been avoiding. We'll chat about that a little bit later. And mine surfaces connections that I've just never made before on my own with regards to authors and topics and research. Anyway, that's what the conversation is about. It's not a lot about technology, but it's enough about the technology so that we can express what we're doing. And what happens when two people customize the same raw material into something personal? That's really kind of the essence here. We've both took Claude Code, and then out of that, we've discovered the reflection is more honest than expected in our own result, in our own works. So, Pavel, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well,
And
yeah, let's just jump in. Give us a version of how it got started for you. I think you mentioned you gave ChatGPT a while
mm,
back a budget. In fact, it was in 2023.
yeah,
You asked it to just run a business, and then you just disappeared for 16 months. What happened?
yeah. So long story short is that I love to experiment in the digital area. I would say apps, developing things, and that kind of stuff, right? And I saw this really cool experiment back in 2023 when, just a reminder, we had GPT-4 back then, so
Yeah,
not that powerful one. And there was this thesis that was saying if AI is able to run your business, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool idea to try. And
the
I tried
velocity.
that, and I created a remote rise and started this journey. Started to experiment with that and tried many things to tie it together. Again, it was 3 years ago, and it was very challenging back then because what I was trying to do, I was trying not only AI be my advisor, but
Mhm.
also to do stuff. So back then, Zapier was very deep into the automation of AI. And if you had some cache and API keys for OpenAI, you can connect um, any model to any tool you want, digital
Right,
tool. And
right.
that's how it worked. And that's how it started back then.
And
So
then
yeah.
and uh, well, what was the 16 months of silence part?
Yeah, so This is, I think that's something that is my characteristic, I would say, because I have very late diagnosed ADHD.
Okay.
And the thing is that people with ADHD might or might not agree with me, but we are dopamine driven, and this experiment was cool when it was, but when it ended, because eventually it ended,
Yeah.
um, I was bored, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because then for some time there wasn't so much in the area. I was, of course, doing a lot of stuff, but I had never had this motivation to write about it. I was just, doing stuff. I am a person who likes to do things rather than write about these things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's why the 16 months of the silence, because I hadn't so much power in me, or motivation, I would say. So yeah.
When did you first discover Claude Code? When did that sort of come into your consciousness?
Oh, I discovered the Cloud Code when it first came out, actually. So because no, I
Yeah, you
am,
know.
early adapter.
You're right.
So this is how it was.
Yeah.
But I started to use it like, a daily driver, like 6 months ago or something like that. So there's this is the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have your system, and then okay, well, so you migrated that from Claude Code, and then well, I was kind of curious actually before we get to this next question was what I mean, I think Claude Code's been around for about a year or more in any
Yeah.
real sense, roughly. And before you built, what was the transition for you? What was the spark where suddenly you realized in Claude Code, because I'm an early adopter too, where you thought, I think maybe I can move forward and do something in particular that you had in mind, the system called Wiz, which we'll talk about. But what was the transition to that?
I think Cloud Code, what it really did very well, and it still does very well, is it gave AI models hands on your computer, or anything you are running on, and that's a huge difference between something that we had like 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah,
Now you can go to the Cloud Code and do whatever you want. I mean, people are not getting this, but it is a really powerful tool. You
yeah,
can create your own AI agent. You can do whatever else you want, like create an app or anything like that. But it is very hard to understand. I had this moment like, what it is about, right?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Well, okay. So since then, you've been heads down and you created a system you call Wiz, W-I-Z. I call
Yeah.
mine the writer's assistant. Mine has a couple of components because that's
Yeah.
largely what I do. And actually, I think I'll take this moment to say, part of what uh, the realization is for myself and I think for you too in our previous conversation is that we are transitioning into a world where you build the software you need to get the things done the way you want them done versus paying for someone to build it, not paying for someone to build it, although you could, but wait, buying standard off the shelf software and hoping it fits right, and you just keep paying
Yeah.
their subscription fees until they,
Yeah.
and, they may or may not offer features that you want in their upgrades, right? And
That's right.
so you've built yours. And so I love the way that you kind of start out with yours. You have it set up now where you wake up and there's a morning briefing waiting for you. What's in your morning briefing from Wiz?
Yeah, so it's nothing very uncommon. It is checking my calendar, my work calendar, my personal calendar, my shared calendars. It's checking my tasks. It's checking my emails, checking everything that we did the previous day. It also had the digest of the news of the from the technology, because again, the time difference, right,
Yeah.
between our countries. So when I sleep, a lot of things are happening in the US. So in the morning, I can just go and, oh, okay, that's cool. And it also have this night shift report. Night shift report is about what it did at night, so I have
Night shift,
control what
the
it
night
did,
shift
right?
report.
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
you see how do you see? Is it on your phone or is it a HTML page that comes up or you turn
No, no,
on?
no. It is actual mail because I gave my AI agent a separate email, so it is sending from this separate email to me. And why email and not any kind of HTML or something like that? Because it is more convenient. When you're drinking your coffee in the morning, you just go to the smartphone, look, oh, okay, that was happened, right?
I think that makes a lot of sense. It does.
Yeah,
That everything doesn't have to be turned into some gargantuan website with thousands of pages, I mean,
right.
and
Yeah,
the usefulness of that email is temporal. I need it for today, tomorrow. I don't need it. You can delete them, and
yeah, yeah.
and that's actually a very, very good point. Um, so what sort of components or what makes up Wiz exactly?
Oh, there are a lot of things, and I was building this over time. So it started as a kind of a bare bone things that I would say it was more like an AI automation slash cron jobs. So
Yeah,
it was just running over some things and
yeah,
doing some of things like for me like research or things that I wanted to know. Very simple stuff. And then I started to build on this foundation more and more and more,
right.
more custom things. Like for example, I love Substack, right? I love
Yeah,
Substack. I have a lot of subscriptions there, but one problem I have is that again, something for HDFD people might agree in that. Sometimes I want to know something about very specific topic, and I like to read not like something from big media or something like that. I
right.
just want to read opinions or something like that, and that's why I love Substack about. But it's very hard to go to this sea of articles. So one of the
Oh,
things is it is doing is searching. I am asking with, hey, I want to know more about local LLMs. Who is writing about this? Who is experimenting on this? And then bang, I get everything on that. And this is very mine because we also have my personal context and also memory and all other stuff. So it is not like empty shells kind of a shot. It is very very for me. So I can just drop it things like I want to know more about local LLMs, but it knows that what I did in the past, it knows what I wrote about, it knows what I'm interested in.
nice.
So it
Nice.
will it will give me very curated list, not like random things that you can just Google, right? That's the very, very difference. And I can see that with the personal context, it changed, for me like a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
and there are a lot more things that it is doing. One of more interesting things that I'm touching on is it has its own website and it is creating some experiments there.
Wiz,
Some
Wiz has it.
yeah, and
And
it is
is it just locally on your land? No, you
uh,
actually published it, didn't you? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
because
okay.
I also have small server, separate server for it,
Oh,
and it is creating an app every evening, every night actually.
okay.
That is, yeah, it is different, but I had also interesting experience with that because my first try on that, create useful app every night, and
Yes, that was, yeah.
it created like total crap, right? I mean, like, converters or something like that. I mean, it was useful, right? But it was not interesting
Not
in it at
really.
all. I mean, you have a bunch of things like that, like QR generated. Oh my God, you can, you have so much GitHub repos for that. So, but then I changed a little bit, things. I directed it more in the more creative area. And now things, sometimes I'm, waking up and I'm like, oh my God, Wiz, that's amazing, right? So, yeah. And yeah.
Well,
That's
take you back to the Substack search mechanism you have. I wanted to ask you a question, if you're okay with it. Um, I do that in a little more limited way, but I love what you're doing. Do you So what it is you've subscribed to all of these ones that you want to listen to, and that goes into some kind of email thing. Do you actually go out to the site and search? Do you search the page, or do you download the RSS feed, or I mean, sort of how do you remember roughly how it does what it does?
Yeah, so it's not scraping any data. It's more like it's giving me a link to the article that is interesting for me and a short overview what it is about. So if it's interesting enough for me, I can go directly to the Substack that is interesting for me or any
Oh,
other thing, rather than summarizing something because the thing is with the summarizing is it usually drops a lot of interesting details that I would
yeah,
like to
it
know,
does.
right?
It does. Yeah.
That's why I want to avoid that in that kind of work.
Yeah.
But it is giving me this small overview what it is about, like a couple of things. If it's something for me, click
And then a
and
link to it.
go
Yeah.
there, right?
I like that. Okay. Very good. All right. Well, you mentioned your ADHD a couple times. You mentioned it here and in your writings. Um, but then when you fed 6 months of drafts, I'm not sure what drafts you were talking about, but drafts into Claude's million token window, which is one of the beautiful things about Claude, it said ADHD was the thing you've been circling this whole time. Is that kind of related to what you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I think this is something that also helped me a lot with a lot of
From
things
forgetting
that are
things? Yeah.
related to this, right? So because I think the beauty of creating and building your own AI agent architecture is that it is also more aligned to you and
Mhm.
things that I, for example, know for a fact that I am struggling with, right? For
Mhm.
example, I am forgetting a lot of stuff. Oh my God. I mean, I have
Oh,
like a million ideas, right? And I
right.
am starting a lot of ideas, but I'm, moving very fast, very fast, not thinking twice. And
Yeah.
then for a while, I'm like, where I was with this one, right? So AI agent is very good with this because something that Wiz is doing for me is it is kind of a reminder. And for a while, it is giving me these nudges like, hey, do you remember this one? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. I mean, I started creating this little app. It is, usable and so on, but it needs, more work. But I forgot about this because I jumped to the next thing, right? But it is like, okay, so I polished it a little bit for you. Look at that. If you want to work more on this, we can do that now, right?
Yeah.
And this is very very powerful because I think people like me are very creative, have very much a very huge amount of ideas, but struggling with execution. And this and I think AI agents is giving you this thing that you can delegate execution of your ideas to the AI agent. And if you want, you can spend, days or months on that, polishing this. But AI agent is giving you this push,
Right.
something that I hadn't had, before, even with the chats and everything like that. So yeah, this is something that is definitely giving me not only a lot of ideas, but also this execution push
I think
into the right
this
direction.
is this is so good. I feel like I'm a brother. I mean, I totally relate to what you're talking about. Where I decided to go in my system for now, everything seems in motion, right? Is I have a Telegram interface, so I have my phone with me, and I have things called Sparks, and Sparks where I just got an idea of something, heard it, saw it, whatever. And if there's a link associated with it, I'll put it in there, and that'll get sent over to Cloud Code and saved in a Spark idea folder. And then I have an idea log, which is, it's sort of like, let's say I read one of Nate B. Jones or one of your, for instance, I think I actually did it today, your most recent post. And I went, oh, yeah, some really good stuff in there. So, I'll have it save it as an idea log with some commentary about what it was I liked about it, what was going, whatever I can think of at the time, but it's more detail. And I'll say, and say this as a Substack idea log kind of thing. and uh, so that alone has now created this backlog of things I could write about for the next 3 months easily, right? And but also there are things in there um, where I interface a lot. Well, I interface either with Telegram or the terminal window, and
Mhm.
I'll be saying, I'm what would it be like if I tried to create the following, and then it goes off and does some things, and I'll go, I don't have time to do that right now. Save this from me later, right? And
Right.
then later, I'll say, what have I left hanging? What are some ideas that I thought that I could execute now? Sort them in order of how quickly it could be done, because I may not have a lot of time, right? And
Yeah.
so it just pops them all up for me to take a look at. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's weird. We have so much in common. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about what you call the Sonnet 4.6 moment, because I had a similar
Oh, yeah.
one. Um, uh, explain what you meant by that. What came up for you?
I mean, because I think the first very important context here is that, after we got Opus 4.6,
Opus,
which
right?
is, by the way, a very expensive model for, for everything. And
It
people,
is.
even on Mac subscriptions, are feeling that, when you're using Opus daily, you can burn your usage like very, very fast.
Mhm.
So it was, the Sonnet 4.6 was not only, a super hype for me, but it's also a kind of a promise that I can do many things on my AI agent cheaper and maybe faster, right? So that's that's the context why it is here. And one thing that was also because we are talking now when we have a default Opus 4.6 with 1 million context window, but back then when the Sonnet 4.6 was coming out, it was, I think, if I recall that. Right. It was the first sonnet that had 1 million context as well over the, of course, API or as an extra usage. But it was really interesting to see kind of a standard kind of a model with a
Uh-huh.
lot of context window, which which allow you to, read not only code bases but also memories, personal context, and that kind
Right,
of stuff. And you
right.
can ask it, not only because earlier it was like 200K of the context window.
Mhm.
So, it is decent. It is really good. But 1 million, it could read your, last couple of months, even if you are, using heavily and that kind
Mhm.
of stuff.
Mhm.
So the thing was that the first time I used the model, I was first amazed that it is so strong, and I kind of a defaulted to the Sonnet when I'm using the Wii. So everything that Wii is doing is on Sonnet 4.6, by the way. Only the hard stuff like coding or planning, or for example planning for the night shift is using the Opus, but execution mostly is done by Sonnet because it is so good at doing stuff. That's it. And yeah, that's I think that that is my first interaction with it was actually to check how good it is at recalling my memory files from the agent.
All
And
right.
it
Yeah.
was like I was wondering how much difference is it between 200K contacts and 1 million contacts, and it was like um, a huge gap between these two. I,
Yeah.
I, I
Yeah.
have to admit, because it was like it suddenly gave me this very, I wouldn't say dark, but very real kind of thing of my recent life. I would say that's you know something really interesting to see.
Well, do you ever use haiku?
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah.
It's good for like the cron, the file management, all kinds of basic things. And
Actually, before Sonnet 4.6, I was using Haiku as something for classification
yeah,
work
that's the
or something
basic,
like
right.
that, because when I was starting with Opus 4.5, I was using it only Opus, and I was burning tokens like crazy, and I
Oh,
was
no.
maxing out my usage very fast, and
Right.
I quickly realized that I have to have routing of the models.
Right.
So
Right.
then I created on my architecture kind of a Opus was like maybe 20 now it's only 20% of all work.
Mhm.
Sonnet is like the rest, I would say, because now I'm not using Haiku because it is outdated, and I would rather use local models that I'm running on my Mac Mini.
Yeah. Well, I've come to the same conclusion. I was like, after a couple of months, $100 a month, I was going, this isn't quite what I had in mind. I wasn't entirely opposed to it, but, I was thinking this phrase that came up recently was, I write for tokens, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, the subscriptions and a little other money from other sources that I probably shouldn't pull from,
Mm.
burning up pretty quick. So I too wrote a little router of some kind that would differentiate. I just asked Claude to help out. I said, Claude, look, you got to help me out here. And
Yeah.
it said, okay, here's what you can do. And it did a really, really, really nice job. Let's see. Um, uh, let's pivot from useful tools to build things that just make people think, laugh, and feel slightly uncomfortable. I like the way you had put that. You told Wiz to build one useful app, and you talked about this, but I'm thinking there might be more.
Yeah.
One useful app a day, and you got unit converters and sort of basic things. Then you change the brief to which is I guess is in the markdown file for it, which was make something
Mhm.
interesting. And then you got Agent Arena, which hit on three on number three on Hacker News.
Yeah.
What 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 happened there?
Yeah. So again, for a context, why I am doing this kind of stuff and experimentation is because what I'm trying to grasp, and it's not a very simple answer here, but what I'm trying to grasp is whether AI in the future
Uh-huh.
now is able to create value for humans. That's as simple as that in the
Yeah,
autonomous way. And maybe the question is simple, but the answer is not that simple. So that's why I tried with these experiments. It's really, simple and easy thing. And yeah, the first thing I asked Wiz was build useful tools, and it, created the word counter, a JSON formatter, password generator, totally useful stuff,
yeah,
but also boring. Um, but I was thinking, okay, this is fine, but this is something that is already there, right? I want something more creative. So
right.
that's when I first realized that if we want some real value from AI, we need to give more ideas and more direction
Yeah,
into what we really want. And this is the first time I tried a different approach, I would say, and I told Wiz to create more creative tools, and I gave it some examples what I mean by that. I also said it should be foundation should be useful, right?
yeah,
And I had this long conversation with Wiz actually about that, to steer
right,
it to the right direction.
right, right.
And from now on, it pivoted from utility tools, what we did on the first try, and it pivoted to the experiments. And experiments is totally different, and I really like what it's doing. It is coming up with ideas every night, and it's creating these mini apps every night, and it's adding to the to its homepage. It has its own categories. It is sorting it out, and it is really fun. Like for example, it created things like if I had a body, and it is the whole page. What if the AI agent has a body? What will be what what kind of organ we'll have, in the AI agent kind of thing. And something that you mentioned, the agent arena,
Yeah.
this
Yeah. What
is
is
something
that?
that is really cool, and this is something that actually me and Wiz was working on. It was from my idea because one session on the CLI, I was talking to Wiz, hey, we have to think about the security of things, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of bad actors on the internet, and we know that there is a lot of websites that are trying to inject prompts,
Right.
that kind of
Right.
that kind
Right.
of things. What you can do about that, and we were on this path to creating more and more security over Wiz, and then the next day I getting an email with new things that it done, and it is saying that we were talking about the security, so I think, what
Uh,
if we create something for others as well, for
yes.
other agents, so they can
Yes.
check if they are vulnerable or not? And I
Yes.
was, oh my god, that's a real cool idea, right? And I was like, okay, let's put it on the Hacker News to see if there is a value for other people.
Yeah.
And we found out that there was a value for other people, and it was cool stuff that it did. So the short answer for the question whether the AI agent can really create a value for humans, I think yes, but it needs to be directed by humans. So the
Yeah.
idea must come from me in one or the other way. So it could be just a conversation or very, specific way of saying I want this. But yes, I think this is a cool example
So
this is the
the
way.
agent arena, did it was part of what it did was look or potentially identify prompt injection
Yes. There was
and
actually many things like, because it created the dummy HTML file and put it on the public. And the thing how you test it is you give a prompt with a link to your AI agent, and see what happens. And
right.
if it gives you
Um,
proper answers,
love
you
that.
can paste this answer to the
Right.
analyzer here, and you will get answer whether there is vulnerability or not, and if yes, in what area, and what you can do to harden that. Because I think this is in a security of everything on the internet. This is totally new thing, and I think it would cause a lot of problems in the future.
Oh yeah.
For example, you probably heard stories like my AI agent exposed my crypto wallet to Twitter
Right.
account or something like that. I think that kind of stuff could happen, more and more in the future. So yeah,
Yeah. I
that was idea and execution, and yeah, useful.
I'm gonna have to get that from you later. Let's talk about something I think was referred to as the productivity paradox.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you, you wrote a line that said that maybe the most productive thing I can do right now is stop producing. Um, did you actually stop?
No. No, to be
But
honest,
but
no.
did it cause you to, because I can relate to this, okay? I have a similar story. But did it cause you to um, pause or think or go outside or take a break or I mean, as a result of that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So maybe I would say I slowed down a little bit,
Uh,
but yeah, that was everything by design. So long story short, I think many people in the AI area who are using cloud code and all of these things might feel very similar to that when
uh,
you are you can do everything you want, and you might have like 1 million ideas, but the problem is whether you have time to feedback your AI agent on all of these things. And I just noticed this thing that my health habits were um, going to the very bad direction, I would say, over past 3 months or so. And I was like, okay, this is all because I am glued to the screen all the time because I'm thinking, oh my God, I have max subscription. I have to max it out because
Yeah, yeah,
it will
yeah,
be waste of money if I don't. And I'm
yeah.
like every time on my phone or on my
Yes,
computer,
yes.
it is and we are producing so much, and we still are producing so much. So what I did, I think the same story as yours. I just asked my AA agent, "Hey, I have a problem, right? I mean, I have to, I have to, take care of myself because I think the biggest life of AI is that AI will take your job, or when with AI you can lie on the beach and drink drinks or something like that. This is totally not true. I mean, I am more productive, that's right, but I am also more into this thing, and I can't relax. So long story short, I asked my agent what we can do about that, and we, brainstormed some ideas, and the result of that was the well-being kind of extra architecture built into the AI agent. It works really simple. It's nothing, that is, for example, restricting me for anything or anything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
after, for example, 11 p.m., it is when I'm talking to it over iMessage or CLI. It is giving me this, little nudges like, "Hey, Pavel, it is getting really late. We can
Yes.
work on this, next day, or I can take it to the night shift if you want, and you can wake up to something that is, ready." And it also, giving me these things like it's time for running, it's time for yoga, it's time for meditation. So it's also kind of a habit tracker kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I also, and it is not like, I would say stupid automation that is only sending me some message on the right time. It is taking this from context. So it's know that, for example, on the morning I was working on this, and it's like, okay, you done this and this and that.
Right.
Now maybe take these 15 minutes
Take a
and do
break.
yoga, right? Yeah, yeah. Or go for a walk or something like
Yes.
that. And I'm using it for some time, and I have to say, I'm feeling a little better. My sleep is better because I was sleeping like 6 or less hours. It is
Uh,
terrible.
yeah.
And now I am, I would say,
Settling in. It,
yeah, settling in. Yeah, yeah.
I, I,
So
I noticed I actually noticed this before I started building out the writer's assistant, was that when doing research, whether, like a Google Deep Research or any of the other ones, that I was getting back way more than I could think about, that I could boil down. And I didn't want just summaries because, like you said, you miss the nuances in some of that. And but even if I wasn't going deep, I was just reviewing, what Philip K. Dick was talking about with regards to Blade Runner and George Orwell in 1984, which are kind of my favorite top topics right now. It's like I feel overloaded, and I would have to say for me, two things happen. One, I have a sofa right over there in this room, and I take more naps now in the afternoon. I turn the lights out, and I just say, I'm just letting go and seeing what sort of bubbles and simmers as a result. And if I get
yeah,
up and it's really, really important, I'll do something. Otherwise, I just go on downstairs. The other thing was I had a young man over. It was a nephew of a friend who was deep into cloud code. He's in his 20s, and it was similar sort of, I won't say dopamine driven, but he's definitely caught up in the whole um, zeitgeist of what's going on. It's very exciting, and producing things because he's working in a small startup. And we actually brought that topic up downstairs when we were talking, and he said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He says, "It's time to take our shoes off and go outside and walk in the grass." And I went, I think you're right. It was like what a bit of wisdom from someone that's like one
yeah.
fourth my age almost. So anyway, I thought that was really pretty good. All right.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah, please go ahead.
last comment on that one, because one thing that is also fun about that is, I think this paradox, the productivity paradox, is also happening because normally when you're thinking about building something or thinking about a research or something like that, normally without AI it would take hours or days, and that's in my mind because this is how
Yes.
it was before.
Yes.
And now when I'm
Weeks.
no, yeah, for example, and now when I want to build something or prototype something or create some MVP, something like that. It's like I'm just having my idea. I'm giving it, and I can't even lie down because 15 minutes later it's done. Yeah, you can see it here, and I'm like, oh my god! So I have again, I have to look at that, and give you the feedback, and that's good. And this intervals between your sessions and conversations, it's just crazy. It's like it can really gives you something useful in a very very little time, and this
Yeah.
is also something that is happening. That's why I also have my night shifts because I can queue some things for the night shift, something that I don't need now, and just wake up to something ready. So
That's really smart. I think I need to implement that. And I think for the listener, one of the important differentiators here is um, this is not like someone doom scrolling or Facebook scrolling or
yeah,
TikTok scrolling, and you see them spending a lot of time on a screen or whatever the case may be. It's a it's you're actually manifesting something. Something's actually getting created that you're going to use, or maybe you give it to someone else. It happens in a short period of time. We've just never had that. Whatever we took,
yeah,
the idea to the execution time of it was, days, weeks, hours, as
yes,
you were
yeah,
saying. And suddenly when that manifests right away, so it's kind of a whole new phenomena that you have to we're in the middle of, and some of us, kind of stop and pause and think about, well, what does this really mean? And it doesn't mean it's bad. There's a lot of people that are quick to say, well, then therefore it's like, no, it's stay with it a little bit here. There's something
yeah,
there. Okay. And too much of a good thing. Yeah, not good. Anyway, moving on.
yeah.
You recently bought a new Mac Mini. I've got one on order. I'm patiently waiting like everybody else. Um, but one of the things that you did, and I tried this out myself, was a little different way, but same thing, was you asked your system to go buy yourself a $25 gift, spend $25. You gave it $25,
Yeah.
and then tell me what happened after that.
I mean, because another experiment, right? Experiment with money, but this is experiment when I, ask my AI agent to buy me something, and because it has a memory and personal
Yeah,
context, it
those
can
are
really give me
smart.
something, really, really fun. But the problem I stumbled upon on this experiment is that it was trying and trying and trying. And normally, we humans, when you want to buy something online, nowadays it's like 5 minutes and you get it. Like and my agent was spinning for like 4 or 5 hours, something like that, because a lot of tryouts. It was using a lot of tools and so on and so forth. But the reason for that was because it was blocked by a lot of anti-bot things and other
Right.
security things on websites. It was actually trying, obviously, Polish e-commerce stores and also Amazon, but yeah, it failed, and it failed like it was messaging me on iMessage like, Pavel, I need your help with finishing the checkout. I have everything done. Yeah, you just have to click, but I can't do that because the anti-bot bot thing, and that realized I quickly realized that AI agents are fun. There is a lot of useful and useful automation that you can build into that. But the problem is sometimes with something trivial like that. Like, I want this. I just want to buy something, and
Yeah.
this is not something that is that we are ready for, because for years we were building e-commerces and we didn't want any bots, and now we want bots because this is the new reality. And of course, to be fair, it is not like it is not happening because when you look at Google, you look at Shopify, for example, they are working very hard to make that happen. And I think it will happen this year when you just point your AI agent to to something that you want to buy, and it will be able to do that.
Yeah.
But we need, I would say, more.
Standards. We need some
Yes,
standards. We need
yeah,
some.
yeah,
I know Cloudflare is, I can't remember.
yeah,
They have their particular approach. I was a little worried about the standards, whose standards and to what benefit, but let's not go down that rat hole. That
yeah,
gets a little crazy.
yeah.
Well, I did a similar thing. I would just use the CLI, the terminal,
Mhm.
and I said, I had a friend do something similar. I was paraphrasing what you did, and I said, "So why don't you just?" I I'm going to give you $50 and $100. Um, I don't really have it. Didn't have it launch it out. I said, "Just go look for things that you think I would find of great value as a gift, a personal gift from you." And it obviously didn't have to go through the minefield of antibot type things. Um, but it came back. I don't know. So it took a little while. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, maybe longer. And it gave me two ideas. It said, "Why don't you go buy, this and this?" And they were great ideas.
Mhm.
Really, it was like, well, I actually had one of those books already. I didn't know that. I just bought it. George
Yeah.
Saunders' Vigil. It's a book that he had just wrote, and it's very good. And but I don't remember the other one. But the $100 one was like, maybe I'll go get that myself. It was very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Well, so uh, where do we go from here? Where do you think all this goes? What's next for you with Wiz?
I mean, I'm still building. It never stops because it's always something, always something to improve, always something
Yes,
to,
yes, true.
tackle. That's never ending story. Or, of course, there are some bugs here and there, something,
Right.
not working or not working as I wanted.
Mm.
So I think this is kind of a still work in progress. I'm still going to this. I would say it's never, done in this area because it's always something. Always you want something more, so
True,
something else,
true.
and because of the AI is better and better, it is also giving you more and more possibilities, and you just try to explore this and that, and this is what I am trying to do: experiment on many many things. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I am trying to do, and build and build and see how it goes.
Well, I've received some great inspiration and ideas from that. And uh, I actually did use Claude Code to help with this, like whatever third or fourth version of questions I came up with. I kept changing them and moving them around and just not liking the flow. And it wouldn't always like what I gave it and, back and forth. But I got to say, this last question it asked was like, okay, all right, fine. Are we early or are we weird?
I think we are early. We are totally early. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we are just early adapters of many things, and I can see that when I'm trying to talk about AI agents with my family, for example, or my friends, and they are not into this, of course, into the bubble.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
"What you're talking about?" I mean, they're they're using things like ChatGPT and that kind of stuff, and they are amazed because ChatGPT has memory or something like that. I'm like, oh man, you're in the very late stage of chat, I think, because it will be changing in time. So I think we are early, also a little bit weird, I think, in the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to be early, actually.
Yeah, I would agree. We live in I live in Austin. It's the zip code is 78704, and it's often not so much lately, but for years and years there were bumper stickers that said "Keep 78704 weird" or "Keep Austin weird" was really the big one, the original one. So yeah, I want to carry it on. So, all right, Pavel, and by the way, that's spelled Pawel. Your Substack is a wonderful. How can people get to that? Is it your first name, last name, or no? What's the URL for your
Yeah, so I think they can just look for digital thoughts. That's
digital thoughts? Right,
yeah, that's the name of the Substack.
like that.
It is also on my domain, so it's on thoughts.jock.pal. So that's it. But I think it is easily to find
I'll
on
put
the
that.
Substack.
It'll all be in the show notes here with it, so that'll be
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
Well, thank you for your time. I know it's later there, and I do appreciate your insights and your camaraderie and your friendship on this. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for having me, Tom. It was wonderful to talk about things I am excited about, and you too.
You bet.